Oh, I know you did.
This is Whole Nother Level with Dwayne Lindo.
You know, frankly, I feel that we shouldn't even be talking about this. Simple as that.
The great L. Bushman.
They'd have to make so many adjustments, but I don't know what they have to do. They need him to.
Our girl, Kristen Yalwin.
Yeah, it's going to be another show. Britney Spears has her show in Vegas. The Raiders are going to have their show in Vegas.
Frank Mazzei.
Did they win the offseason in free agency? Yes. What does that mean? Absolutely nothing.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Craig Cousin.
How can you not put Tom Brady #1 on the Mount Rushmore of quarterbacks? Man, this guy's a legend. Ring speak.
And Eric Wilson.
I didn't know Eric was going to let you talk.
Don't hate the player, hate the game. I've seen enough Facebook posts to know that you're not a Giants fan. Let's go.
And to welcome everyone to a special edition of Whole Nother Level. We are here at JDubs, right down the street from Ed Smith Stadium, 12th and Mango Street. Big shouts to Jeremy for letting us do this. We are Whole Nother Level, local sports podcast here, and today we're going to talk a little, looks like we got a rivalry going on here between the Baltimore Orioles and the Pittsburgh Pirates. I guess it's like Sarasota versus Bradenton to see who's the better spring training team. But let me get started, introduce the cast of characters that are joining me. We've got our girl in Cleveland Indians gear, even though the Indians aren't even playing today. Kristen J, what's going on?
I think they are actually playing, but
They're
it's
not
in Arizona.
They're not playing here.
It's
though.
a baseball shirt.
It is a baseball shirt, and I am representing my team.
Would you rather have her like wear an Eagles shirt or something? Is that what you want her
football.
to wear?
Exactly
what he wants.
Football.
Okay.
No.
It's better than her wearing that Ohio State shirt she wore during the show at Old School.
Okay,
Or
fair
that
enough.
Browns jersey.
Yeah, the Browns jersey too.
All right, well, it's nice to have you guys as well today. Thanks for having me.
Kristen. Sitting up there, the three stooges, as I like to call them sometimes. We got our man in the middle, the factual Frank Mazzei. Frank, what's going on? How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm great. Beautiful weather out here today at JDubs.
It is.
Dwayne Lindo in the building.
Good to see some AL East fans out here. You know,
Of course.
Orioles. I see a lot of orange. I don't see any Pirates fans, though.
Oh, no, there's a couple
There's
of
a
them.
couple? Okay.
They might be inside, but we're
Okay.
going to bring them out here.
Well, good to see some Orioles fans representing.
And then, of course, we got our man running the board for us, the great L. Bushman. I guess the biggest baseball fan out of all of us here today.
Hello, good morning, fellow AOL East guys. Hello, how are you?
So we're going to talk a little bit about spring training because, you know, as we know, we're getting down to pretty much the end of it. This is the last month here before opening day actually starts. So, Kristen, I want to ask you because we talked about the Orioles in the past. And based on what you've seen so far this spring training season, I remember you saying that you thought that the Orioles would probably finish second or third in the AL East. Has your mind changed based on solely what you've seen so far this spring training?
If anything, it's changed for the better, I think. We saw Kevin Gausman against the DR pitch an amazing game against that amazing lineup that they have and, you know, all these all-star hitters. So their pitching's looking good. He looks like he's going to be the opening day starter for the Orioles with Tillman still out. They're always underrated, and Adam Jones actually posed the question the other day, why are we always so underrated? And now with David Price being injured, I think that, you know, they may take a little bit step closer to the Red Sox this season by, you know, they're looking good. They have the power hitting. The pitching looks like it's going to be coming together. So I think they are maybe going to be a definite second-place team in the AL East.
I will say this will be the first time I ever clap for Adam Jones for hitting the walk-off single last night for the Team USA in the World Baseball Classic last night. Congrats to him.
Congrats to him. You got to show him a little bit of love. Frank, the Baltimore Orioles was the team that you really kind of delved into a little bit, kind of drilled down into when we were talking about them when we were at Ferg's for Rays Fan Fest. So just for our fans here and everybody listening to us today, could you kind of recap what you spoke about when it came to the Baltimore Orioles?
Well, first I said nobody is happier that spring training starts than Buck Showalter, so he can get that decision he made in that wild card game out of his mind and get the season started. Look, they're going to be the same version that they were last year. I mean, they didn't make a lot of off-season moves. I mean, they re-signed Trumbo. They made a trade for Seth Davis. I mean, nothing eye-popping or anything. They're going to win with mediocre pitching, a great offensive lineup, and maybe one of the best bullpens in baseball. I mean, they pretty much make it a 7-inning game. Zach Britt.
Him being injured.
Good. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say that? Oh, I'm sorry. I said that. Good. And for the right team, you got hurt on too, so good.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Do you need a hug?
No.
No, he's happy.
You
Why
want
would
to
he need
I'm
a hug?
happy, actually.
You want to vent this out real quick?
No, I
Nobody's
don't need
happier
to.
than David Price making all that money for doing nothing.
Exactly.
Okay. So what I wanted to ask Mr. Lindo over here was, Dwayne, you being a Yankees fan, with the adjustments that you have made.
And Frank starts laughing, but go ahead.
With the adjustments that you have made within the Yankees organization, do you see Baltimore as a viable threat with the mediocre, as Frank said, with the mediocre crew that they have?
Well, look, I mean, Frank was on the money when he said, they have a good relief pitching core. Here's the problem with Baltimore. Baltimore's starting pitching, with the exception of Chris Tillman, he had like a 750 percentage last year in win-loss record. Chris Tillman, I have some confidence in when it comes to Baltimore. Anyone else, really, I don't have, I really don't have any confidence in. Wade Miley, a great pitcher when he was with Arizona. He's on the decline. Wade Miley, he's one of their starters. Not so great. What I do like is Baltimore's outfield core. Hyun-Sung Kim, Adam Jones, Seth Smith. The outfield core, I think, is great. The lineup, great. Again, it's going to come down to starting pitching for Baltimore. Will they step up? Will Chris Tillman be the force to step up and lead his team? That's yet to be seen. We'll find that out. If that happens, yes, they can be a force to be reckoned with, and Yankees will have a problem. But I think the team that will rule in the AL East, unfortunately for me, will be the Boston Red Sox. But Yankees are going to have a problem. Like you asked the question, are Yankees going to have a problem? They are going to have a problem with their pitching. Pitching is not that great for the Yankees as well. The farm team is going to be a huge deal, if you will, when it comes to the Yankees organization.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't you say that you felt like there were a lot of guys in the farm system for the Yankees who you thought could actually, in fact, be formidable this year for,
right, and
for the team?
Yeah, and I predicted, and I'm not going to let anyone forget this, I predicted at least an 89-90 win season for the Yankees, and everybody laughed at me.
This year?
Not in 2 years. I'm not talking about a 2-year total here. I'm talking about 1 year. This year.
I remember laughing.
You do remember that.
laughing.
You do remember that. And everyone was laughing.
I don't remember. I would have remembered that because I would have been laughing.
Well, I'm kind of surprised that you didn't, Mr. Factual Frank. But the point is that I think the New York Yankees, the farm system, I think they will do well in the AL East. Because, look, the AL East is not the AL East of old. Even though 2 teams made it out of the AL East last year, I think 2 teams may make it out of the AL East this year into the playoffs.
Was 3
but,
last year.
the thing is, I think the Yankees possibly come in second place. Baltimore maybe third.
You can remind him.
It was 3 teams last year.
Say what now?
It was 3 teams.
3 teams from the AL East.
Yeah, Toronto made it as well. We keep
yeah, that's right.
forgetting
That's
about
right. 3,
Toronto.
yes.
And speaking of Toronto, Jose Bautista is playing out of
Toronto.
his mind this spring.
Right.
So they're one team we don't really want
Right.
to count out, but I still think Baltimore's
I always
coming in
forget
second.
about the Canadian teams.
There's only
one. Yeah, I keep thinking of Montreal Expos, but
they're
they're
not
gone.
there
Yeah.
anymore.
Remember, Dwayne,
Yeah.
Canada is America's hat.
There you go.
Remember.
Enough said.
Look, Baltimore doesn't need their pitching to be great. I mean, when I say it's mediocre, I mean it's a good, solid rotation, but they don't need it to be great with that when you got that offense behind them and that bullpen. It's the way that they're built. My problem with the Yankees is you traded all those, Chapman and Miller, and you got all those prospects, and that's exactly what they are. Prospects.
Well,
you have no idea how they're going to turn out in the majors.
Well, they've been doing great in AAA. Wilkes-Barre, I'm pronouncing that right, correct? Wilkes-Barre.
No, Wilkes-Barre.
Wilkes-Barre. Okay. Here we go again.
Here we go
But anyway,
again.
they're
Have
doing
you
well.
ever been to Wilkes-Barre?
No, I haven't. I don't plan on
It's
it
a
anytime
lovely
soon.
town.
Unless I wanted to go to a AAA game, then I would. But unfortunately, at this point, no.
I love how we're talking
But
about my hometown. We always seem to find a way to make it back to me.
Anyway.
You guys know that it's not all about me.
Anyway, but the point is, a lot of these prospects are doing well in the AAA organization, as well as the AA organization, as well as up in Tampa. So hopefully they can transition it that well into the major league.
All right. Gentlemen, let's switch gears here. And actually, let's go to the other team playing today, and that being the Pittsburgh Pirates. We haven't really focused on the NL Central a lot. We've kind of stayed in this division because, you know, the Rays are here, Orioles are here. But let's talk about Pittsburgh. So I've heard some grumblings that Andrew McCutchen, basically the face of that franchise, is saying that not all's right in the world within the Pittsburgh Pirates organization. So I'm curious to hear from you gentlemen how you feel about that. And then also, do we know if the Pirates have officially made their run at Pagan?
Pagan?
Yes.
Well, the Orioles actually had a deal in place with him until he got hurt. His physical, he failed. So Pagan is still with the Giants right now. We don't know what's going to happen with him. But with McCutchen, who's in the last year of his contract, he's due about $18.5 million this year. He's looking to get paid. Does he want to stay in Pittsburgh? He's been having those gripes and grumbles about, I want to get paid. I want to be like the big shot. So do I want to stay in Pittsburgh? That's up to him. I mean, he wants to go in this last year of his contract to be like, all right, I got to play well because I want to get paid wherever I'm going to go. So that's the biggest thing with McCutchen. You know, he's been in the face of that franchise for the past few years, and Pittsburgh should keep him. I mean, this guy has been nothing but an offensive force with this team. Speed up on the base pass, and he's really good in center field. So if I was the Pittsburgh Pirates, I would try and keep McCutchen as long as I can. Maybe talk an extension. I would say halfway through the season.
But he had his worst year ever last year. I mean,
he's gone.
You think he's leaving?
I think they're going to trade him. Yeah, Austin Meadows, I think, is ready in AAA. I think he'll be his replacement. I mean, look, they moved him to right field not because he's that good out there, too. I mean, you
He's
play
a demotion.
right. Exactly. When they put you in right field, it either says you can't catch, your defense is suspect, or you're just not that athletic.
I think it's because he cut his hair. When he cut his hair, he lost all of his mojo.
But here's the problem, though. I mean, if you get rid of an Andrew McCutchen, E. Bushman just mentioned it. He's the face of the franchise. I mean, you need someone to lead that team because really there's no one else on the team. Christian just mentioned that they didn't have a great season at all in the Central last year. They got blown out of the water. Obviously, Chicago was in that mix.
They won 78 games.
Right.
But just before that, I mean, they won 98 and were in the wild card. So, I mean, it's not like, look, if you total their wins the last 4 years, I mean, the Pirates have won like 360 games. You could put that up against only about 3 or 4 other teams in all of baseball. So
I actually see the Pirates and the Orioles as very comparable to me, that they're both on the way up. They both could make a run at this, but they both are playing under a team that's supposed to win. Both of their, the Cubs are supposed to win the AL. The Red Sox are a heavy favorite or the NL. The Red Sox are a heavy favorite to win the AL, and I think that the Orioles and the Pirates are right there at, a few more pieces, and they could take their division.
Hold on, Kristen. Didn't you say you expect the Indians to repeat? Didn't you say that earlier?
I expect that, but the rest of the world has the Red Sox as a heavy favorite. But of course, I believe the Indians.
Well,
will be
I mean,
right.
first of all, who's going to compete with the Indians in the Central? Detroit?
No, not at all.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, I mean, I agree with that, too. I mean,
so the Indians right now, what you're saying, they're a flat-out favorite to win their division.
I haven't looked at that Las Vegas odds recently. But
I'm
going to say
Las Vegas odds again.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Eric, talking about McCutchen, if he does leave the Pirates, they do have Sterling Marte and also Greg Polanco, who are two great guys, two young guys on that team that have actually carried that offense and also that defense out in the outfield as well. So if he goes, they're going to be okay.
And they'll get a haul for him. I mean, look, they need him to play well because that's just going to up the trade value that they'll be able to get better prospects for him and better trades.
And I think that's the key. They're going to need to get better trades. You mentioned that Marte will do well on the team. But, again, I mean, to reiterate, McCutchen is the face of this franchise, and you're going to need someone that is going to step up, someone who is, I'm going to use this word again, analogous to a McCutchen.
Okay, hold on, time
to
out.
fill that hole.
For the second time in 2
You
weeks.
can't use analogous again.
Oh my goodness!
You have to come up with a new word. For us to have you as a featured clip per week for Webster's Words with Dwayne Lindo, I got to have something else besides
here's
that.
the thing.
Hold
you
on,
cannot,
time out
the
before you go there.
Before
you go there, does anybody out here listening to us know what analogous means? You do? Could you come here for a minute, please? Could you please? Thank you.
It's not a made-up word?
In other words, this is analogous to being crazy stupid in front of a lot of people.
Okay, what does it mean?
Analogous? Analogous is a cousin of the Florida alligator.
Oh, wow. Am I the only one in this bar that knows what that means? But I think we should just go on.
Yes, but this is analogous, as I said before, to absurdity, stupid, English, grammatical stuff. Analogous is like or similar, sir.
Okay.
There we go.
There we go.
Attaboy. There we go.
Ladies and
That's an
gentlemen,
Orioles fan right there.
Another edition of Webster's Words with Dwayne Lindo.
Okay, well, I mean, I got to say, too, you can't – the Pirates organization can't really jettison Andrew McCutchen. Because
Yes, they can.
There we go.
They can.
Jettison. Dwayne,
They can.
stop being a dictionary.
Okay, well, all right, I'm going to stop right there.
Can you make it
All
for
right,
a
but-
fifth grader, please?
If he's playing out of his mind now, and they're in contention, do you
Well,
keep
yeah.
him? You're going to keep him, or if he's playing out of his mind, you trade him because his trade value.
And
is
they
at
have an
its
option
highest.
for him for 2018. So I mean, they could technically have him for 2 more years, and it's not a super expensive option. So it's only a win-win for them if he plays well and they can get something for him. I mean, I think that helps. Look, Pittsburgh's farm system it's in better shape than Baltimore's is. I mean, they have 5 of the top 100 prospects in baseball. Actually, 5 of the top 55 are in Pittsburgh's farm system. So there's help on the way to get into that lineup. I mean, look, Garrett Cole, I mean, is going to be at the top of that rotation. And their rotation is pretty good. I think they can contend with St. Louis for the second spot in the NL Central. The only problem with a young team like that is you might have some inconsistencies. They may be 1 year away, but with or without Andrew McCutchen, they're still a decent team.
Okay. All right, well, you know what? Let's take our first break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little more baseball here at JDubs off of 12th and Mango. You are listening to us. We are Whole Nother Level, and we'll be right back. And welcome back to Whole Nother Level right here at JDubs 12th and Mango. We are doing a live remote. We'll let y'all know that beginning April 2nd, opening day, we will be at Ferg's in St. Petersburg doing live shows. We got about 20 live shows lined up for the entire baseball season. We're going to be there supporting our Rays, our local, as the Bostons and the Yankees and everybody else of the world try to treckle their way into here to St. Pete. We won't let them know. Whole Nother Level's in the building.
Don't forget about Toronto.
And Toronto.
That
yes.
sole Canadian team.
Yes, and Toronto. That's sole
America's
Canadian
hat.
team.
Well, we're here for spring training today, but there's some other stuff going on outside of spring training, a little something called the World Baseball Classic.
Before we get to that, Kristen, since he was so kind enough to join us and let us do it here, I want to bring the owner of JDubs, JDub himself, Jeremy, up to sit and talk to us because I believe he has a very interesting story. So if you, sir, want to, we're going to put you in the hot seat.
We got to get you front and center
Right in the
with it.
middle, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the owner of JDubs. Jeremy, I can never pronounce your last name, but it's okay. That's why everybody just says JDub.
All you need to do is say it once, Jeremy. I'll get it.
Yeah, he will. He probably will.
Jorger's good. It's Jorger.
He still can't say
J-Dub.
my last name. So.
Before. Is this thing close up to my mouth? I'm very nervous
Nice,
right now. Am I good? Is this good? Can you guys hear me all
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yep, you're good.
Perfect,
Awesome.
perfect.
So you were telling us before we started the show today, you have a very interesting story about one Mr. Dick Vitale.
Dick Vitale?
Yeah.
He owes me $6. If you see him, tell him I'm looking for him.
He's usually at Broken Egg or First
First
Watch.
watch.
Right by my
He's
job,
at First
so-
Watch, always selling his book.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I was at the Yankees game the other day, right? So, and a group of buddies. I'm from Santa Rosa, California, and I had about 6 of my pals come in from Santa Rosa. They live in Austin now, but they came out and visited for the first time. So we had a good day out on the water, and then we went and checked out the Yankees game. So we're in the third row, right behind home plate, and you hear this voice, right? And Dick Vitale's voice. There is no other voice like Dick Vitale.
Yeah, baby.
Unmistakable.
Exactly. So, and I'm
Slam a
sitting,
distance.
this guy's on it 24/7. I think a lot of personalities, TV, radio, whatever, they got to get themselves into this whatever alter ego it is. Dick Vitale is Dick Vitale. I mean, this dude. So I'm sitting in the third row, didn't know he was back there, and I hear this. Hey, Adam Jones, come here, baby. Let me get a couple. I want to get a couple of pairs of autographed shoes. I want to get a couple baseball. And Adam Jones, I don't know if he knows him, but he gets it's Dick Vitale. And Adam Jones is a big guy, so Adam Jones like, yeah, Dick, you got it, no problem. Hey, all right, give me a couple of autographed this, all right, I'll give you a couple basketballs. And this dude's on it, and I'm like, that's pretty neat. So obviously Adam Jones knew it was Dick Vitale, and he's up there and he's talking to somebody. He's got a guest with him. And he's saying all the stuff you hear him. He's a PTPer. This guy's going to hit a double the trifecta. And I'm like, this dude is on it. And it's cool, but I don't know if I'd want to be around that all the time, to be honest with you. I got it, Dick. I know he's a PTPer, dude. But anyways, no, it was really cool, though. Then the funny thing is like, I don't even know if the O's were expecting Dick Vitale to do what he did. But then at like the 6th inning, he just walks over to the dugout and leans his head in and starts talking to these guys like they're his pals. And so you see all these big-time players, I'm looking over and I'm watching this, and first they're like, who the hell is this guy? Because he's like, hey, Adam, hey, come over here, I want to get those shoes I was talking to. And then you see the pros, and then you look at each other, and then you see them one by one getting that it's Dick Vitale. And then they're like nudging each other, like, dude, that's Dick Vitale. And you're like, this is pretty cool, right? Like these pros geek out like we do when we see we're right by Dick Vitale.
You know, I see him so much at first watch. It's like it's another crazy old man.
Is he
peddling a book?
Is he the same? He's on it.
He's
Like,
always on it though. If you come up to, oh yeah, I'll give you an autograph, baby. Here's my book too, $29.95.
Some people would find search to be on television. I think television found Dick Vitale.
Well, here's the deal. You know, Dick Vitale has been in the business for so long. He's respected. He has that green light to go into dugouts when he wants to. He has that green light to basically go on the court, possibly halftime, whatever basketball game it is. He gets that green light.
Oh my God.
Oh, wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, our YouTube sensation, Steve, our number one friend from old school.
The internet sensation of 2017
has graced us with his presence.
Steve,
how are you, buddy?
Okay, back to Dick Vitale.
Wow.
Enough about Dick. He's a basketball guy. Let's talk about baseball.
I do want to say I do have a signed copy of the book, though.
Oh, okay.
You have a signed copy of what?
I have a signed copy of the book. It says "Go Buckeyes, baby."
Oh, really?
Nice.
Yeah.
I have got, just as a plug here, I've got a Pete Rose bat here, autographed by Pete Rose. I bought it at the game the other day.
Nice.
Where I'm going to figure out a way to do something. You know, we're big on charity at JDubs, so I'm going to figure out something cool to do with this Pete Rose bat. So stay tuned. We're going to auction it away, give it all to a charity like we do. So, yes, there's a Pete Rose bat in my office. I'm just figuring out how and what we're going to do with this thing. Other than I know we're going to give it to charity.
I have a question for the audience though. I love to quiz people. That's my thing. Jeremy was talking about Dick Vitale, his story about Dick Vitale. Now, my question is, and I'm going to pose this to you, Jeremy, as well as you, Mr. Bushman.
Okay.
Dick Vitale was a former basketball coach. I think most people know that. Now, the question is, where was he a coach? What school did he coach?
Indiana.
Ding, 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 ding. There we go. Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
He gets the
Anyway,
Pete Rose
that
bat.
was just my question of the day there.
I'll
but
be honest, I absolutely hate basketball, and I'm not afraid to say it. I'd rather listen to people, you know, the sneakers when they're hitting the court. I'd rather listen to fingernails going across a chalkboard than that sound right there.
Oof.
I'm being honest. I'm a football guy.
Don't worry, man. I'm the same way.
I'm a baseball guy,
So
too,
am I.
because I love a nap right around the third inning. That's why I like baseball.
Let me ask you: do you fill out a bracket, or do you hate it that much you don't even do that?
You know, I don't despise it. I'll be honest with you, right? I'm big into soul, right? And when I watch the pros, now, okay, so talking about soul, the 90s, early 90s, the 80s, when you're talking about McHale, Parrish, Bird, you know, from the Boston Celtics, you're talking about, and
Jordan.
in the 90s, even Detroit when they had that bad boy team.
Yep.
And then you're talking about the Bulls. When you saw Michael Jordan play, I mean, there's something about excellence and greatness. You know what it is, and you don't have to be a great chef or a cook to know that you're eating a meal that's made. So that's what it's like with sports, right?
I'm not much of a basketball guy either, but every time I see a game now, it's like watching soccer. A lot of these players flop. It's kind of like I'm a big baby. Don't do this to me.
Well,
so.
mostly NBA than college. I think
Yeah,
you're talking
college
about
is
two
great.
different-
College is great, though.
NBA and college basketball are two different beasts. I mean,
Agreed.
yeah.
Completely agreed. So I would say that I'm not a basketball fan now because of what basketball has evolved into. Take me back to the 90s and the 80s when those guys were hardcore and maybe even beyond, and they were playing for each other and they were playing with soul, and there was even that Bad Boys team, you know, there was a little more rough. Nowadays, it's a bunch of prima donnas.
Right, but here's a deal with that too. A lot of that is the NBA as a whole. A lot of that, you know, the roughness, the hard fouls. That's gone from the sport altogether.
Well, because
that's why we like hockey.
It's more of a business than it is the
Well,
game.
yes.
And I think
So-
that's what a lot of people have come to realize with the NBA. The NBA has become more of a business side of things. There has to be more finesse. You want to see guys dropping triple doubles left and right because that's what we've come to expect. Whereas with football, we expect somebody to get knocked on their backside and get carted off the field. It's like hockey. If we don't see a fight in hockey, we get mad.
But I think there's like a carnal drive, and maybe I'm not using the right words, but all of us, I think probably especially men, I'm just general statement, we want to see two guys beat the hell out of each other.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah,
look,
USC.
you know what I mean? Like hockey, I don't like hockey, but man, there's some. I'm watching it to see when the fight's going to happen.
Exactly.
next.
Well, just getting back
octagon.
Right, just getting back to what Jeremy is kind of talking about. You know, you wanted to see more of two guys going head to head. Look, I mean, there's still that in the NBA. There's a lot of hard-nosed basketball in the NBA. The problem is
Not like
the NBA
before.
as a whole. There's not. You can't. Again, it's a lot of finesse. You can't fouls, the hard fouls that you saw back in the 90s, you reference the bad boys.
You get suspended for playing like that.
Right,
now.
right.
I mean,
You can't
Billy
do that.
Embiid,
So a lot of
Rick
that's the
Mahorn,
NBA.
Charles Oakley and those guys. I mean, they'd be
Charles
out of
Oakley
the league
got kicked
right
out
now.
of Madison Square
No,
Garden just
Barkley
for
was
sitting
awesome,
there.
too.
Even if
That's
you
a good
sneeze
call.
somebody on the NBA, you get a technical
Listen, I
foul.
feel like
Come
you're
on.
all hating on the NBA right now, only because the reigning NBA champions are the
Well, I'm going to hate on
Cleveland
Cleveland.
Cavaliers.
No, I'll go ahead and hate on Cleveland since you're wearing that shirt. I'm going to tell you what I love Cleveland. By the way, it's one of my favorite big cities, and people think I'm crazy when I say that, but it's a big city that's friendly, and I appreciate that being from San Francisco. Same with Chicago is kind of like that. So those are in America. Those are like my three favorite cities. That being said, you guys gave LeBron James a pass. The way that he dissed you, the way that he did. To make the decision or whatever he called it, and you guys welcomed him right back. If he would have been on my team, he would have been dead to me. Now I would have wanted my.
You
when
wouldn't
he
have
came
taken
back,
LeBron James
I would
back
have
on your team.
No, I would have taken him back, but I
you-
would never root for him. I'd root
have
for
you-
the team. But
I never stopped
You
rooting
guys
for
were
him.
right back on the bandwagon. as
Have
soon
you
as
ever
he
heard of the
came
prodigal
back.
son?
Oh sure, but the way he dissed you,
Thank
man.
you.
Sometimes like
LeBron James did what he had to do. Look, he was in high school for a little bit. He went off to college. He
didn't
did
go
his
to college.
thing. No,
Agreed.
listen, I'm doing an analogy.
But the
here.
fashion in
An
which he
analogy.
did it
True.
was
That's a
tasteless.
great analogy,
That was a
actually.
diss.
Yeah.
He was in high school when he
Right.
was with Cleveland before. He went off to college to
Great-
Miami.
great
He
analogy.
did his thing, partied a lot. Partied way too much. Said, "Hey, I might want to come back home because I have to, maybe."
He gonna party, but he got rings while he was partying.
Exactly, and then
Right,
you
right.
know what? I
That's
got
all good.
older.
He matured.
And it's-
He matured in college.
I'm not hating him for the decision that he made.
Oh,
no,
but
I
it
get
was,
it from
but
where
it was
you're
the
coming
fashion.
from.
He
Yes.
dissed an entire city,
Yes.
and he was like their great hope. No offense, but Cleveland doesn't have that much. Well, now you got the Indians doing well again. I'm happy. But for 30, however many years it was, Cleveland was just getting there. I mean, 30 for 30 did a show on Cleveland, just getting the what beat out of it
I
year
cried.
after year after year. And they got so much heart, like the dog pound. The people love their teams and are so loyal to their players and their teams. It's a special, in that regard, it's a special fan base. And I just feel like the way he did it was just so
But you know what? He came
classless.
back and he got us a championship, which we can never be more thankful as Cleveland fans for that. That was
I
just
wouldn't use the word
amazing.
thankful.
Well, listen, he did his job.
Look,
I mean,
championship
honestly, that's
erased
how
all
I
that.
look at it. You're right. The championship that he brought to Cleveland,
He may do it again.
he might, as long as Andrew Bogut doesn't play for more than 58 seconds. But anyhow, what I'm saying is, LeBron coming back to Cleveland, that was his mission. If he still today would be the guy in Cleveland but would not have won a championship, then I'm all in the same board as Jeremy saying, you know what, then why'd you leave us in the first place? Because what we got before is what we're getting now. But he came back and he said, okay, with all odds stacked against me, team is down 3-1. I'm going to right the ship, and he did that. So for the, I'll say, bandwagon fan and for the fan who has been longing for this, they have forgiven LeBron. But I will say that I think there are still some people who are like, you know what? That diss that you did us, I'm never going to get over. I thank you for the championship, but I'm not going to support you.
I'll tell you what, when LeBron did that, I was dating a gal that was from Cleveland. I was living in D.C. at the time, and I used to travel back there, and I saw how they loved him before he made that decision and the way they reacted when he made that decision. I would have made $1 million because I was going to come up with a floor mat that had his jersey on it with LeBron James on the back and say, please wipe your feet before coming into the that thing
actually
would have sold like
surprised I haven't seen
it would have
that.
sold like hotcakes.
You know what? For hating basketball, that was a pretty good basketball talk, I have
know
to
it
say.
was.
It started
It
off
was.
with, I despise basketball.
What it is, and again, I played 17 years of rugby. I would have played more football if I wouldn't have got hurt in college. But I just like contact, and I think I just like that mano y mano. You hit me, I'll hit you back, and we'll hug each other at the end of the game type thing. Not, hey, your hip brush up against mine, I'm flailing on the floor and screaming foul. That's why I don't like the Italian soccer team.
Right, but and you got to understand too, basketball is not necessarily a contact sport. But again, you're just missing you're missing the NBA of old with the
I like
the
toughness.
Rock'em Sock'em NBA. That's all gone. That'll never come back.
Yeah, that's well put.
Very true. Jeremy, thank you so much for sitting in and chiming in with us. We love the Dick Vitale story. And again, thanks for having us here.
You got it, baby.
We really appreciate it.
Buy my book, $29.95.
Nice.
We're going to take another break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little about the World Baseball Classic. You're listening to us. Whole Nother Level right here at JDubs. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Whole Nother Level right here at JDubs, 12th and Mango Street, beautiful Sarasota. It's a beautiful Saturday afternoon right down the road from Ed Smith Stadium where the Baltimore Orioles playing the Pittsburgh Pirates for spring training. So, Jeremy, again, thanks for chiming in. We really appreciate it, man. Thank you. Kristen, so there was something that you wanted to discuss with all of us.
I did want to discuss something with you guys. So last night we saw World Baseball Classic, great game. You know, Chris Archer pulled himself out after 4 innings because he has that responsibility to the Rays. And I know there's a lot of mixed emotions about the World Baseball Classic going on. A lot of these guys are on teams, they're big name players on these teams going to play somewhere else, playing for their country. I know, Eric, you feel one way, some of the other guys feel another way, so I want to hear your opinions. I want to start with you.
Listen, it's called the World Baseball Classic for a reason. You are given the honor and the opportunity to play for your country. You are given the chance to showcase your talent, not just forget about the paycheck, because that's not what it's about. It's about the honor and privilege to play and do what you love for your country. And there are a lot of guys, you know, from South America, Central America, who may not have been given this opportunity. Some of them had to defect. Some of them had to they had to sacrifice a lot to get here to be given the opportunity to play in Major League Baseball. So what do? They want to give back to their country. Forget about what their country may have did to them. So I am a proponent of, if you get the opportunity to play, then you should. And I understand, and I know, Great Al Bushman, you and I have gone back and forth about this. I understand the time. I understand the work that these guys are putting in. But again, I'm always going to defer back to, it's a chance to give back to your country.
Yeah, we have something called like that. It's called the Olympics, the Summer Olympics, when they can play baseball. Look, I like the WBC. I do. I think it's a great, tournament that they have for baseball players across the world. But I think the timing of it, when you're having it right before the season starts, puts a lot of risk, especially for teams that have big name players that have huge contracts that you are invested in, to have these guys go out and play a tournament, which they don't need to do maybe until after the season's over. Okay, when you have guys, especially in this. Chris Archer, he's supposed to be either our 1-2 guy in our rotation, and you're having him go to play at a tournament where he could get hurt, where he could hurt his elbow, he could hurt his shoulder. To me, it's a risk that I think executives and GMs and owners of teams shouldn't let them do it. I mean, if they get the opportunity, great, but do you really want them to go off and play a tournament where they need to get ready for opening day? They need to get ready for a 162-game season. That's why I don't agree with it, because the timing is bad. They should have it maybe after the season's over or in another point in time. But before the season, when these guys are trained to play a full season of baseball, it shouldn't be right before it starts. Looking at it alone, I pulled up some stats from players that have gotten hurt by playing the WBC. And this is back in 2019. Now, actually, Hanley Ramirez actually needed to get thumb surgery because he played in the WBC in 2013. Now, in 2009, Edwin Volquez, Jake Peavy, Daisuke Matuzaka. Remember that guy? We don't hear from him much anymore. And Scott Shields. I think he's back in Japan now. But those guys all got hurt. These are all pitchers got hurt in the 2009 WBC. And these are highly touted guys. Jake Peavy's still playing. Edwin Volquez is still playing. Daisuke's not. But at that time in 2009, these guys were top-of-the-line pitchers. So I'm just saying, if I was a GM or an exec, I would say, okay, you got the opportunity to go and play, but you got your team to worry about. It's a great opportunity to represent your country and your team. That's what we have the Olympics for. But you got your team. We've got invested a lot of money in you. I think you should worry about your team instead of this.
He took himself out. He could have gone the 65 minimum. He took himself out.
And that's good. And he's smart about it. But I think he needs to worry about playing 162 games instead of a tournament.
All right, Frank, what do you think?
Guys play on the off season all the time. They go and play in the Dominican League, when there's no World Baseball Classic. So it's not like no players are playing in the off season. It happens. Even American players go and play in the Dominican League. It's a chance to, get in that mid-season form at the beginning of the season, if you will. You could say that Chris Archer is going to be ahead of the game a little bit while everybody's trying to catch up. Look, I think it's more so the timing is bad, right before the season starts. At least with the Dominican League, it's a little bit, pretty much right after the season ends. So, it's a.
But don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I watched the game last night, and it was an awesome game. When they won in the extra innings, great game. I'm not going to lie about that. But Frank, as you said, timing of it, not that good. Yeah, why not?
Steve wants to know when you're going to play.
I'd say after the wintertime.
So you're saying after,
or instead of having the big name players go and play the tournament, have your guys that are playing in the minors play instead of the big name players. Have your guys that are in the minors.
What if
do
he
it.
gets hurt in December? Was that any different than getting hurt in March?
Yes, because you'll have a few months to rehab instead of a. Actually, it was 9 games. It was 9. He lost 19. Okay.
Dwayne, what do you think? Whose
Well,
side are
listen.
you on? These two are the his.
Yeah, well, listen. I mean, I think this is more for a lot of the players from the Dominican Republic, from Cuba, from Puerto Rico, from South Korea. I mean, there's a lot of these guys, that are probably playing in the minor leagues. It's a chance for them to showcase their talents. In terms of the USA, most of those guys, if not all of those guys, are in the majors now. But I agree with Evan in the fact that, it's a little iffy. You don't want to risk any injury going into the season. I mean, you can't. It's tough. It's a tough call. But I agree with Evan in the fact that
I'll say a prime example is too. Back, I think it was a couple of years ago when we had our reliever at the time Tampa Bay Rays had. God, I always forget his name. Rodney, yes. Thank you, Frank.
Yep.
So we had Fernando Rodney, our closer, who for the year before that was a monster closer for us. Played the WBC for his country, came back and went to the season after that, and was terrible because he had elbow issues for playing from the WBC because he overexerted himself.
But you can't blame. I mean, look. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the WBC and players playing right before the season. But we can't put all the blame on the World Baseball Classic in terms of.
No, I'm not.
You
I
can't
won't
put
say
all
that.
the blame. I mean, look.
I'm saying All-Star game. You can pick and choose when. No, All-Star game is you can play or not to play. It's an optional thing with the All-Star game.
okay, so let me say this to you, gentlemen, because
That's Josh Hamilton you're talking about.
Steve, hold on a second. Let me say this to you, gentlemen, because I don't think I've put my point to you well enough. You talk about the risk. You talk about you don't want them, injuring themselves because they have 162 games and they have a contract and the team has invested in them. So explain this one to me or help me understand this. Let's say, for example, and we'll use Chris Archer since this is the guy that we're referring to because of what he did last night. Let's say Chris Archer decided not to play in the WBC, but let's say in January he goes on vacation with his family and he gets injured. Okay?
What is he doing?
Playing with his kids.
Is this he slip, trip, and fall kind of deal? Or?
Any type of injury that's going to affect his arm.
Well, that's
going to
different from
affect
playing.
his throwing
That's
arm.
different than playing a tournament, though. If he goes off on vacation, falls down and go boom after one night of drinking, that's a different story.
Well, I'm not talking about drinking. Alcohol was not involved.
Or he's on.
He was playing with his kids.
Or he's
Not
playing with his
drunk.
kids,
That's
or
what
he's
I
on
said.
a ladder and he
That's what I
fell.
said. He was
That's a
playing
whole
with his-
different kind of variable you're going into. We're
But
talking about a
it's the
tournament.
same exact analogy because he's using the same motion in.
Well, you could say he's going to get hurt in spring training. He's using the same motion. He's
Right.
pitching.
So my point to you is you're putting the emphasis on specifically the World Baseball Classic and the timing.
I'm saying time. I didn't say it was a bad thing. I like the WBC.
No, I agree with you.
I'm just saying time.
You're saying put it at the end of the season.
Yep.
But we all know November, December, no one's watching baseball. Honestly, we're mid-deep in football season. No one's watching the World Baseball Classic. At least now, people are spending the time. People are taking their resources and saying, "Okay."
That's because football's over with.
Well,
And nobody likes to watch basketball.
But that's my point.
Unless you're watching college.
I mean, clearly, March Madness hasn't started yet, so we're not there with the 64 teams. So this is the
68 now.
68, thank you. So this is now the prime opportunity to put the World Baseball Classic in. And guess what? These guys are running the risk, whether they're in spring training, whether they're in the off season, whether it's the regular season, it doesn't matter. I go back to Frank's point, and that's what I am going to put it on. You know what? You need Chris Archer to not be 9-19 this year. So if him playing in the World Baseball Classic,
That's what
is
spring
going,
training is for.
Okay, but if also being a part of the World Baseball Classic is going to put him in better form, so that opening day against the Yankees,
He needs run support to help with that record.
I get all that, but what I'm talking about is solely him. I'm talking about solely his mechanics, solely what he needs to do on the mound to be successful. Why not put that extra time in, whether it be in spring training or the World Baseball Classic, to make him better prepared?
That's what spring training is for.
I disagree. I still say you go back to.
We'll agree to disagree because I can see your point as well. I think it's more for the honor of playing for your country. Yes. I like that. I just don't think now is the time to actually put this tournament in. And a lot of coaches agree they shouldn't have it.
All right, so then
don't have it at all.
You know what? If that's the case,
that's what the Olympics is for, Steve.
If that's the case, then at the next baseball conference, whenever it is, they need to vote on this. If there are so many owners and GMs and executives who feel like this is the wrong time to have it, then they need to vote on it and make a decision to either A, change it.
Start a hashtag.
Or B, move it to somewhere else.
Hashtag no on the WBC.
I'm curious, who is responsible for putting the whole WBC together? It's not Major League Baseball. Is it like, who does that?
It's the international, sports committee. Kind of like the Olympics. Kind of like it's because
they probably picked this time because it is spring training time, as I'm guessing the reason why they picked this time.
Yeah, and like I said before, I mean, it coincides with the start of baseball because baseball is going to be starting again officially in a couple weeks. But just having it in the middle of spring training, having it when guys are ramping up to play a full season of baseball, I just don't think now would be the time to do it.
All right, so we got 3 against it.
Yeah, they're not too fun.
One for
so
it.
let me ask you guys this question really quick. Our internet sensation who was gracious enough to drop by, our one true fan, Steve.
The legend.
He asked a question. He believes that in 2006, the World Baseball Classic actually happened right before the World Series.
No, or in the middle of the season. It was not during spring training.
You know what, Steve? I think you're right because I do remember. Yeah. When it first started, they had it. I think it was. It was kind of in the middle of like playoffs. They did a WBC tournament.
So very similar to what the NFL does with the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's a good timing too. Look, if you're doing a tournament where teams are not going to be in contention for it anymore, do it then.
No, we're still playing.
October. No, I'm talking, Steve. I'm talking about having players play on the America's team that aren't going to the playoffs, that aren't going to the World Series. Have it during that time because it could be like a Pro Bowl kind of deal.
Okay.
It could be something like that.
All right. Well, he's talking about his Detroit Tigers. It's time to cut him off. All right, that's it. Yeah, we're done. And that's how we're gonna wrap it up today. Ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all for joining us. This has been awesome.
We miss you, Steve.
We do miss you.
I can't wait for football again.
Football season's going to be, it's going to be good this year. Anyhow, so for our girl, Kristen J., Dwayne Lindo, the factual Frank Mazzei, the great Al Bushman, our internet sensation, our one true fan, Steve. This man pedaled over here. We really appreciate it. And to all our family and friends who came out and supported us, we really thank you. So until Tuesday, this is your man, Eric Wilson. We have taken you to a whole nother level. We'll see you next time.
Gee, mate, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
Autobots, transform and roll out.